Jung once said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. And when it comes to the question of finding a partner who truly completes you, it is not simply about romance or attraction. It is about an alchemy of the soul. So before we dive deep into this profound wisdom, let me ask you to subscribe to this channel and watch this video all the way till the very end. Because what you will discover here is not just advice about relationships, but a journey into the core of your being, a journey that can change how you look at love forever. And I promise that staying with me until the final words will give you insights that can unlock hidden patterns within you and reveal the path toward the kind of relationship you have always longed for. The kind that does not just excite you for a moment, but truly completes you in ways you might not yet understand. Because Carl Jung believed that every individual is born carrying both masculine and feminine aspects within themselves, the anima and the animus. And it is only by integrating these inner opposites that we can come close to wholeness. Yet so often we project these unseen aspects onto others, falling in love not with who they are, but with what they awaken inside us. And this is why you may feel an almost mystical pull towards certain people, as if you have known them forever. Because in truth, you are recognizing a hidden piece of yourself reflected in them. But here's the paradox Jung uncovered. The partner who truly completes you will not only mirror your beauty and your strengths, they will also awaken the very parts of yourself that you resist, the wounds you avoid, the shadow you deny. And this is why love can feel both intoxicating and terrifying. Because in the arms of the one who completes you, you will face not only your light, but your darkness, not only your desires, but your fears, not only your joy, but your pain. And yet this is the very process that leads to transformation. For Jung insisted that real love is not about finding someone who makes you comfortable. It is about finding someone who makes you whole. And wholeness always demands growth, always demands sacrifice, always demands a willingness to confront the parts of yourself that you would rather leave buried. So when you ask, how do I find a partner who truly completes me? The first answer is, you must first begin the work of completion within yourself. Because if you run from your own shadow, you will forever project it onto others. If you deny your own wounds, you will forever attract partners who remind you of them. And if you reject the feminine or masculine energy within, you will forever seek it desperately in others, only to feel incomplete once again. Jung taught that what we love in another is often what we long for in ourselves, and what we hate in another is often what we repress in ourselves, which means that the search for a soulmate is inseparable from the search for self. So to find the one who truly completes you, you must dare to ask, what within me is still waiting to be discovered? What within me is still waiting to be healed? And as you uncover those answers, you will notice a shift in the kind of people you attract. Because you are no longer seeking someone to fill your emptiness, but someone to share your wholeness. No longer searching for someone to rescue you, but someone to journey beside you. No longer clinging out of fear, but choosing out of freedom. And in that space, the partner who completes you will appear not as a savior, but as a mirror. Not as a rescuer, but as a companion. Not as someone to carry your pain, but as someone to help you transform it. And this is the secret Jung left for us, that love is not about finding your other half, for you are already whole. It is about finding the one who helps you realize that wholeness more fully, who calls forth every hidden part of your being, and who stands with you through the fire of transformation until together you emerge more alive, more authentic, more complete than you could ever be alone. And when you continue to walk on this path of self-discovery, inspired by Jung, you begin to realize that the partner who truly completes you is not necessarily the one who fits every fantasy you have created in your mind, but the one who challenges you to grow into the person you were always meant to become. And this is where most people get confused, because modern culture has sold us the idea of instant chemistry, perfect compatibility, and the illusion that somewhere out there exists a flawless person designed just for us. But Jung would argue that such illusions keep us trapped in endless disappointment, because no real human can live up to the perfection of your imagination. And every time you hold on to that fantasy, you sabotage the opportunity to meet the person who can actually complete you, the one who reflects both your brilliance and your brokenness. And this is why Jung emphasized the concept of projection, that powerful psychological phenomenon where we unconsciously place our hidden qualities, desires, and fears onto another person. And in love, this becomes both the most beautiful and the most dangerous thing, because on one hand, projection creates the spark of attraction, the sense of destiny, the feeling that you have found the one. But on the other hand, it blinds you from seeing the real human being standing before you. And until you reclaim those projections, until you own your own inner world, you will keep mistaking the image for the reality, falling in love with reflections of yourself rather than with the truth of another. And this is why so many relationships collapse once the honeymoon fades, because the projection shatters and you are left facing the stranger you never really knew. But Jung would say this is not the end, it is the beginning. Because only when the illusions break can real love begin. The kind of love that strips away false images and calls you into authentic connection. The kind of love that says, I see your wounds and I do not run. I see your flaws and I do not withdraw. I see your shadow and I will help you face it, just as you help me face mine. And this mutual process of unveiling is what makes a partner complete you. Not because they supply what you lack, but because together you summon the courage to confront the hidden parts of yourselves that were waiting to be embraced. And this is why the journey toward finding the one is inseparable from the journey inward. Because until you dare to face your loneliness, you will turn it into dependency. Until you dare to face your anger, you will project it as blame. Until you dare to face your fear, you will disguise it as control. And all of these unacknowledged forces will poison your search for love. But when you begin to embrace them, to make them conscious, you free yourself from the cycle of projection. And then you no longer seek someone who completes you because of your wounds, but someone who completes you because of your wholeness. And the difference is profound. For in the first case, you cling to another out of desperation. In the second case, you choose them out of freedom. In the first case, you are terrified of losing them because they hold your missing pieces. In the second case, you are secure because you already stand in your own fullness. And this is what Jung meant by individuation, the lifelong process of becoming your true self. Because only a person who is walking this path can recognize and cherish another who is walking it too. And when such two people meet, the relationship becomes a crucible of transformation, not an escape from loneliness, but a sanctuary for growth, not a retreat into fantasy, but a confrontation with truth. And this is what it means to find a partner who truly completes you. Because completion is not about finding perfection. It is about finding the one who walks with you through imperfection, who mirrors not only who you are, but who you are becoming, and who accepts not only the person you show, but the depths you hide. And together you move closer and closer to the wholeness that Jung believed is the ultimate goal of human life. And as you go deeper into Jung's wisdom into relationships, you begin to see that the search for a partner who truly completes you is not a search outside, but a search that begins within. Because love is not simply about two bodies meeting. It is about two souls recognizing one another through the shared mirror of consciousness. And Jung often reminded us that every person we are drawn to holds a key to some part of ourselves, sometimes to our highest potential, sometimes to our deepest wounds, and often to both at once. And this is why he warned us never to take attraction lightly, because behind the flutter of emotions and the thrill of desire hides a deeper psychological truth, a truth about who we are and what we still need to face. And so when you fall in love with someone who challenges you, frustrates you, or even frightens you, Jung would not tell you to run away, but to ask, what does this reveal about me? What part of myself is being awakened or unsettled by this connection? And only when you approach relationships with this kind of depth do you begin to understand how to find the partner who truly completes you. Not through fantasy, but through awareness. Not through blind longing, but through conscious choice. Because the truth is every person carries a shadow, and when two shadows meet, the relationship can either collapse into destruction or rise into transformation. And the difference lies in whether both partners are willing to see themselves honestly, to stop blaming each other, and instead begin to own their hidden parts. And Jung believed that this work of self-recognition
is what turns romance into love, infatuation into devotion, and fleeting passion into enduring connection. For real love is not the absence of conflict. It is the courage to move through conflict without losing sight of each other. And this is why so many modern relationships fail, because people enter them hoping to be healed without being willing to heal themselves. They want their partner to carry their pain, to solve their loneliness, to silence their inner critic, but no one can carry the weight of your unconscious for you. And when you demand it, the relationship suffocates. But when you accept responsibility for your inner world, when you begin to integrate your shadow, you create space for your partner to stand as they are, not as your savior, but as your companion. And this is the kind of relationship that truly completes you, because it is built on freedom rather than fear, on authenticity rather than pretense, on growth rather than stagnation. And Jung would say that to prepare for such a bond, you must cultivate a relationship with yourself. You must learn to sit in silence without fear, to face your desires without shame, to acknowledge your wounds without denial, and to embrace your potential without arrogance. For the more you know yourself, the less you will demand from another what you have not given yourself. And the more you embrace your wholeness, the more you will attract someone who is also whole. And when two whole people meet, they do not fuse into one out of need. They choose to walk side by side out of love. And that is the profound difference that turns ordinary romance into sacred union. For completion is not about finding someone who fills your emptiness. It is about finding someone who celebrates your fullness. Someone who challenges you to rise into your best self while holding you tenderly when you fall into your worst. Someone who does not complete you because you are broken, but completes you because together you awaken the deeper wholeness that already exists within. And in this awakening, you discover that love is not about possession, it is about liberation. Not about control, but about surrender. Not about perfect harmony, but about the dance between light and shadow. And it is in this dance that true intimacy is born. The intimacy that Jung believed was the ultimate medicine for the soul. For in such intimacy, you are no longer hiding, no longer pretending, no longer running. You are seen, known, and embraced. And in being embraced, you find the courage to embrace another. And this mutual embrace, fragile yet powerful, is the very essence of finding a partner who truly completes you. And as we continue to follow Jung's insight into relationships, we begin to see that the process of finding a partner who truly completes you is inseparable from the process of individuation, which means becoming who you truly are rather than who the world expects you to be. Because Jung believed that we do not come into relationships as blank slates. We come carrying the weight of our family histories, our cultural expectations, and the masks we have worn for years to survive. And unless we peel these layers back, we will keep mistaking roles for love, performance for intimacy, and dependence for connection. And so many people enter relationships not as themselves, but as characters, playing out scripts of what a partner is supposed to be rather than showing who they really are. And this is why they never feel complete, because no one can complete a mask. No one can complete a lie. Completion only comes when you dare to be real, when you risk being seen for your truth rather than your performance. And Jung's urged us to recognize that the people we are drawn to often mirror back the parts of ourselves that we have hidden. So when you feel an unexplainable attraction to someone, it may not be because they are your missing piece, but because they represent something within you that you have not owned. And this is why Jung's idea of anima and animus is so crucial, because within every man there is a feminine side, and within every woman there is a masculine side. And when we deny these inner opposites, we project them outward and go searching for someone to carry them for us, which can create powerful infatuations, but also deep dependencies. And to move beyond this cycle, you must integrate your inner opposite. You must allow yourself to feel the tenderness, creativity, and receptivity of the anima if you are a man. And you must embrace the strength, focus, and assertiveness of the animus if you are a woman. And when you begin to unite these inner forces, you no longer desperately seek them in another, which frees you to love without clinging, to give without demanding, and to choose without fear. And this is when you are ready for a partner who truly completes you, not because they carry what you lack, but because they resonate with the wholeness you are becoming. And this shift transforms love from a hunger into a gift, from a desperate chase into a sacred meeting. For in Jung's view, the goal of love was never to find someone who saves you, but to find someone who awakens you, someone who helps you see yourself more clearly, even when the truth is uncomfortable. Someone who does not shield you from your darkness, but walks with you as you face it. And this is why Jung described love as both the greatest joy and the greatest risk, because true love demands vulnerability. It demands that you stop hiding your wounds and instead bring them into the light, where they can be healed in the presence of another. But this healing is not your partner's job, it is your own. And only when you take responsibility for your healing can the relationship become a place of growth rather than a battlefield of blame. But so many of us resist this. We want love without labor, union without honesty, passion without pain. But Jung knew that such fantasies only lead to disappointment, because love without truth is fragile. It breaks under the first storm, while love grounded in truth becomes unshakable. And truth begins with the courage to ask yourself, who am I beneath the masks? What do I truly seek? And am I willing to face the parts of myself I fear in order to embrace the partner who mirrors them back to me? And when you begin to live these questions, you stop chasing illusions and start building relationships on authenticity. And this authenticity is what creates the deep bond we all long for. The bond that allows two people to be different yet united, separate yet together, whole yet intertwined. And in this paradox lies the mystery of love that Jung pointed to again and again. The mystery that completion is not about two halves merging into one, but about two wholes walking side by side, mirroring, challenging, and inspiring each other towards greater wholeness.
And as we move further into Jung's vision of what it truly means to find a partner who completes you, we must understand that he never saw relationships as fairy tales, where one person magically rescues another, but as profound psychological encounters where each person becomes a mirror,
a guide, and sometimes even a wound for the other. And this is why he said that falling in love often feels like fate, as if destiny has placed this person in front of you. Because what is really happening is that your unconscious has chosen someone who embodies the parts of yourself that you need to integrate. And while this can be breathtaking, it can also be deeply unsettling, because what you see in them are not just qualities you admire, but also qualities you fear or deny in yourself. And so when conflicts arise, it is not simply because the other person is flawed, but because they are holding up a mirror to the hidden conflicts within you. And if you have not learned to face your own shadow, you will blame them for what you refuse to see, projecting your anger, jealousy, and insecurities onto them instead of owning them as your own. But Jung taught that this very tension is the opportunity for growth, that the discomfort in relationships is not a sign that you have chosen the wrong person, but that you are being called to evolve, to step beyond your comfort zone and into the truth of who you are. And this is why he insisted that love is never easy, because love is the great revealer. It strips you of your defenses. It confronts you with your deepest wounds, and it asks whether you are willing to grow rather than run. And those who run spend their lives chasing partners who repeat the same patterns, partners who carry the same projections, because the unconscious will keep drawing you to situations that force you to face what you have ignored, until at last you turn inward and ask, what is this trying to teach me about myself? And when you finally ask that question, relationships stop being cycles of blame and become journeys of self-discovery. And in this light, finding a partner who truly completes you does not mean finding someone without flaws, but finding someone with whom you can face your flaws together. Someone who does not demand perfection, but encourages authenticity. Someone who is willing to walk beside you as you wrestle with your shadow, and also willing to let you walk beside them as they wrestle with theirs. For Jung believed that true love is a partnership of souls, not just bodies, and that such love arises not from fantasy, but from the courage to see and be seen. And in today's world where so many chase surface-level attraction, this wisdom feels radical, because society tells us to look for beauty, wealth, status, and validation. But Jung tells us to look for resonance, for the one who stirs your depths, for the one who awakens both your joy and your fears, for the one who does not simply make you feel comfortable, but who makes you feel alive. And this aliveness comes from growth, from expansion, from the tension of opposites being held together. And Jung described this as the union of conscious and unconscious, of masculine and feminine, of light and shadow. And when this union is mirrored in a relationship, it becomes a sacred container for transformation, a place where both partners are refined, challenged, and completed by each other's presence. And while this journey may be difficult, it is also profoundly rewarding, because it gives you not just companionship, but a mirror for your soul, not just romance, but a path to individuation. And in the end, Jung believed that this is the ultimate purpose of love, not happiness alone, not comfort alone, but the expansion of consciousness, the awakening of the self, and the recognition that in truly loving another, you are also learning to truly love yourself. And when Jung spoke about the search for a partner who truly completes you, he reminded us that the real danger is not in being alone, but in being with someone who only feeds your illusions. Because illusions may feel comfortable for a while, but they prevent growth. And Jung taught that every true relationship must include what he called the tension of opposites, where two different personalities with different desires and fears collide in ways that force both people to expand. And this is why conflict, when handled with awareness, is not the end of love, but the beginning of a deeper love, because in that friction lies the potential for transformation. And so many couples make the mistake of thinking that arguments mean incompatibility, but Jung would say that arguments reveal exactly where the work is, exactly where the unconscious is pressing for attention. And if both partners are willing to look at what is really happening beneath the surface, they will discover that the very thing they fight about is the very thing they are meant to heal. Because the unconscious will always push into the relationship whatever has been left unresolved. And it is in this way that a true partner becomes a mirror. Not a mirror that flatters, but a mirror that shows what must be faced. And this is why so many people find themselves repeating patterns of attraction, falling for partners who resemble their parents or their past lovers, because the psyche is seeking completion. It is calling us again and again to integrate what was left unintegrated. And until we answer that call consciously, it will show up unconsciously, disguised as fate, disguised as chemistry, disguised as destiny, when in fact it is the psyche trying to make us whole. And Jung called this the process of individuation, the journey of becoming the full person you were meant to be. And he saw love as one of the greatest catalysts for this journey, because no mirror is clearer than the mirror of relationship, and no test is harder than to stay when staying forces you to see yourself. But yet this is exactly where the treasure lies. Because when you stay, when you look deeply, when you hold the discomfort long enough to learn from it, the relationship transforms into something sacred, into a space where both people can meet not just as egos, trying to protect themselves, but as souls, daring to grow. And Jung believed that this kind of partnership is rare, but possible. And he urged people to choose their partners not based on fleeting attraction alone, but on the depth of resonance, asking themselves, does this person awaken me? Does this person challenge me? Does this person mirror both my light and my shadow? Because if the answer is yes, then you are not just in a romance, you are in an alchemical container where transformation can happen. And in such a container is true completion found. Not because the other person gives you what you lack, but because they help you find what was hidden within you all along. And this changes everything about how we look at love. Because instead of asking, who will make me happy, Jung invites us to ask, who will help me become whole? And happiness then becomes a byproduct of growth, not a fragile state dependent on the other person's behavior. And in this way, relationships stop being fragile contracts of convenience and become sacred journeys of individuation. Journeys where two people are not just lovers, but fellow travelers, each carrying their own wounds, each holding their own shadows, and yet willing to walk together into the unknown, willing to face the storms because they know that through the storms comes awakening. And in such love, there is no pretense. There is no need to be perfect. There is only the courage to be real. And Jung would tell us that this kind of love is the closest thing we have to a spiritual path, because it strips us of illusions, it confronts us with truth, and it brings us face to face with the parts of ourselves that we would never discover on our own. And so if you are seeking a partner who truly completes you, Jung would advise that you do not search for someone who removes your struggles, but for someone who helps you face them, for someone who does not run from conflict, but who is willing to stand in it with you, for someone who understands that love is not the absence of problems, but the willingness to work through them. And in that working through, something greater than either of you alone is born, something eternal, something whole, something deeply human and deeply divine. And when we look even deeper into Jung's wisdom on relationships, he makes it clear that the idea of finding someone who completes you is not about subsistence, but about wholeness. Because when two incomplete people cling to each other without awareness, the relationship becomes suffocating.
each demanding that the other fill a void they aren't willing to face. But when two people enter a relationship already committed to their own inner growth, they meet as equals, and their bond becomes a crucible where something extraordinary can unfold. And Jung called this the mystery of the self, the archetype of totality that drives us toward becoming who we truly are. And in love, this archetype often appears projected onto another person, meaning we see in them what we can't yet see in ourselves. And this explains why early
Romance feels magical because the unconscious gives us a glimpse of our own hidden possibilities through the other's presence. But Jung warned that this projection cannot last, because eventually the reality of the other person emerges. And when it does, many couples feel betrayed or disappointed. But in truth, this is the crucial moment. The moment when love can shift from illusion to reality, from projection to genuine connection. Because now the challenge is not to idolize the other person, but to truly know them, flaws and all, and to allow them to truly know you. And this is where many relationships fail because they collapse when the projection dissolves. But Jung would say that the end of projection is not the end of love, but the beginning of real love. The kind of love that accepts imperfection. The kind of love that says, I see your shadow, and I still choose you. I see your wounds, and I still walk with you. And only in this acceptance does the relationship become a ground for transformation, because love is no longer about escaping loneliness, but about embracing growth. And Jung would remind us that the unconscious always seeks balance. So often we are drawn to partners who carry qualities we have suppressed in ourselves. For example, a highly logical person might be drawn to someone emotional, or a very passive person might be drawn to someone assertive. And this attraction is the psyche's way of saying you must integrate what you lack. And if the couple recognizes this dynamic, they can learn from each other, each borrowing strength from the other's difference. But if they resist it, they may instead criticize or resent each other, turning the gift of difference into a source of conflict. And so Jung's advice is that when you notice the qualities in your partner that frustrate you the most, ask yourself whether these are the very qualities you need to develop within yourself. Because often what annoys us in others is what we have disowned in ourselves. And in this way, the partner becomes not just a companion, but a teacher, a guide to hidden aspects of our own being. And the more conscious we become of this, the less we fall into blame, and the more we grow into responsibility. Understanding that the relationship is not here to make life easier, but to make life fuller, richer, and more authentic. And this perspective changes everything. Because instead of seeking comfort, we begin to seek truth. Instead of demanding perfection, we begin to practice compassion. And instead of running from challenges, we begin to embrace them as stepping stones. And this is the secret Jung offers us, that to find a partner who truly completes you is not to find someone who saves you from yourself, but someone who reflects you back to yourself. Sometimes in the most painful ways, sometimes in the most beautiful, but always in ways that call you to become more whole. And so if you're listening to this and wondering how to apply it, Jung would suggest that before you search for the right partner, you must first search within. You must ask yourself, what parts of me have I denied? What qualities in others do I admire or resent that might actually be hidden in me? What wounds am I carrying that I keep hoping someone else will heal for me? Because until you face these questions, no partner can truly complete you. They can only serve as another stage for the same unfinished play of your unconscious patterns. But once you begin to face these truths, you open the door to a new kind of relationship. One where love is no longer blind, but awakened. One where the partner you find does not complete you by filling your emptiness, but by helping you discover the fullness that was within you all along. And in this discovery, the relationship becomes not just a love story, but a journey of individuation. A journey where both of you walk together not because you need each other in the sense of desperation, but because you choose each other in the sense of destiny. And that choice, renewed again and again, is the foundation of a love that lasts, a love that transforms, a love that completes.
And as we bring together Jung's insights into what it truly means to find a partner who completes you, it becomes clearer than ever that this completion is not the end of the story, but the beginning of a deeper one. Because the true purpose of love, according to Jung, is to awaken the hidden dimensions of our soul. And when we look honestly, we see that the partners who challenge us the most are often the ones who force us to grow beyond the narrow limits we once believed were fixed. And in that challenge lies the gift of transformation. But it requires courage, the courage to face not only the beauty of love, but its pain, because every deep connection will eventually expose our wounds, and every lasting bond will call us to confront our shadows. Yet instead of seeing this as a burden, Jung would say that this is the very alchemy of love, the fire through which two individuals are forged into something greater than themselves. And this is why relationships are not meant to be perfect or easy. They are meant to be transformative. And transformation is never comfortable, but always necessary. And if we look closely at the relationships that endure and thrive, we will find that they are built not on the absence of struggle, but on the willingness to work through struggle with honesty, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to growth. Because the truth is that no one else can carry the weight of making us whole, but together with someone who mirrors our hidden self, we can walk the path of becoming whole, side by side. And in this way, love becomes not a fairy tale, but a sacred journey. And the more we realize this, the less we chase fleeting illusions and the more we cultivate lasting depth. And so the question Jung leaves us with is not who will complete me, but who will walk with me as I complete myself. And when you begin to see love this way, you stop searching for the perfect partner and start searching for the honest one, the one who is willing to look at their own shadows while also holding space for yours, the one who is not afraid of your flaws because they have made peace with their own, the one who sees not just who you are today, but who you are capable of becoming. And with them, every conflict becomes a lesson, every disappointment becomes a doorway, and every moment of tenderness becomes a glimpse of the eternal. And this is the love that does not fade when the projection dissolves. This is the love that does not collapse when reality sets in. Because it is grounded not in illusion, but in awareness, not in fantasy, but in truth. And when you find this, you will realize that the partner who truly completes you is not a missing piece of your puzzle, but a mirror reflecting back the wholeness you were always meant to embody. And this realization changes not only how you love others, but how you love yourself, because you stop waiting for someone else to fix you, and instead begin to embrace the responsibility of healing yourself. And from that wholeness, you are able to give love more freely, to receive love more fully, and to create with your partner a relationship that is not about escaping loneliness, but about celebrating togetherness, not about clinging out of fear, but about choosing out of freedom. And so, as you continue your own journey, remember Jung's message that the greatest gift a partner can give you is not the promise of never leaving, but the challenge of never allowing you to remain small. And the greatest gift you can give in return is the willingness to walk through the fire of growth together, hand in hand, heart to heart, soul to soul. Because in that shared fire, you will discover not only the partner who completes you, but the deeper truth that love itself is the path to completion. And if you've stayed with me until now, I want to thank you for giving your time to dive into these profound ideas, because it shows you are serious about your own journey of growth and love. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel
because we will continue to explore more of Jung's wisdom and how it can transform your relationships and your life. And make sure to watch this video all the way through again if you need to, because sometimes the message reveals new meaning each time. And share it with someone you love, someone you believe is ready to understand that love is more than romance. It is a mirror, a challenge, a gift, and perhaps the most important journey of our lives. And with that, I leave you with this thought. Finding a partner who truly completes you is not about seeking someone outside yourself, but about awakening to the wholeness within yourself, and then allowing that wholeness to meet another soul on the same journey, so that together you can create not just a relationship, but a living testament to what it means to love, to grow, and to become complete.